Room for Rent is a brand new 2019 thriller. I don't know if I'd classify this as a horror. It's more of like a drama thriller, dramatic thriller, and it stars Lin Shaye, who has really made a name for herself in the horror world in the last decade or so. Not that she hasn't been in the horror world for a long ass time and other movies as well. She absolutely has. But we can't deny that the Insidious franchise has kind of made her almost a household name. I mean, before that, people might have recognized her from her work with like the Farley brothers or something and like Kingpin or something. But outside of that, only horror fans, like real diehard horror fans, would be like, hey, that's the teacher from Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, something super small. Not that she hasn't had bigger roles, but Insidious is really where her face has become recognizable for, which I think is really cool because she's the face of a franchise and she's a 70 freaking year old woman, 70 plus, whatever she is. And here we are with like Insidious The Last Key, and she is the series star. I mean, a 70-year-old woman. How many freaking people how many movies can say that? You know? Not many. Not many franchises can say that one. So good for her. And I like that she's kind of got a name to her now where they can put her on the front cover of this, like, Lin Shaye is in Room for Rent. And people are like, oh, Lin Shaye. Like, 10 years ago, people have been like, who the fuck is that? So she's really, really made a name for herself recently. And of course, that's what drew me to it. I was like, oh, Lin Shaye, isn't it cool? I'll check it out. Knew very little about it. I just knew that she had a room for rent. I mean, it's in the fucking title. So, now here's the thing. Was this movie any good? No, not really. It was extremely generic. It was pretty cheap feeling the entire movie. It felt like a student film. But here's the thing. This film was shot on location in a town I lived in, a very small town that I lived in for almost 15 years of my life. Opening shot, I had no clue this was shot there. So opening shot, I was like instant, like, what the fuck? That's the village of Oak Creek. Like, what the hell? I was like, there's Circle K and there's Ace Hardware, and that, like, I know this place. And man, was this film Sedona to its core. Like, it really used Sedona locations, and I was really surprised because, as I said, I've lived, it's a very small town, and I lived there for a very long time, so I know the place very well. I mean, they went into the Sedona Library, they went into the Sundowner, this dive bar in Sedona. She went over to the skate park. She went, like, it was like, oh my god, oh my god. So like the whole thing was filmed in Sedona. Even when she was looking at the receipt, it was a Sundowner receipt with the actual address of the Sundowner. Her mail actually had the address of the house she was in the movie. Like, they used the legit address, the legit house. Like, it was weird. I was like, oh my god, it felt like, and my dad just put up a room for rent. Like, he has a Airbnb that he just put up for rent in Sedona recently, like in the last couple months. And my last name's Smith, as is his, and her name is Mrs. Smith in this movie. So Smith opening up a Airbnb in Sedona was in the village too. There's a few different sections of Sedona. It's kind of spread out even for being a small town. You've got like West Sedona, you've got Uptown, and then you got the village of Oak Creek. So my dad lives in the village of Oak Creek. It was just like it was tripping me out. So that was what I was way more involved in the movie. Was just like, I know that. I mean, what film have you watched where it was filmed in a place where you know it intimately? You know every single little place they went to. There's not a single frame of this movie outside of when they're in her house. I haven't been in that specific house, but everything outside, everywhere they go, I knew every single location and had been there 1,000 times and was like, oh my god, oh my god. It actually took me out of the movie because I was so just like, I know that. Oh, there's that. Oh, I've been there. Oh, I went on a date here. Oh, whatever. Like, it was just like landmarks for me. So that all being said, I don't want to make that sound like it deterred from the film. I was actually really not engaged in the movie because the movie is fairly poor. So it's not a recommend for sure. But if you're someone who's from Sedona, I would be like, uh, I guess I never really gave a plot synopsis. I should have done that up front. Um, but yeah, if you're still here, Lynn Shay just loses her husband. She uh, can't pay her mortgage. She's gonna lose the house. She finds that Airbnb is a thing, and she puts a room for rent up. She becomes she's very lonely, kind of mentally ill, and she has a tenant move in, and she becomes obsessed with him. A previous tenant who was there for just a couple of days, she's kind of obsessed with her in a way too, as a friend, and of course things just go downhill from there. Lin Shaye's fine in this. Like, Lin Shaye's not a good actress to me. Like, she's a genre actor, and I look past because she's going to give the same performance and everything to me. Like, everything is, and I have no doubt that's exactly how she is in real life. That's not a knock on her, but I've never seen something from her where I was like, oh my god, like that. What range? You know, what incredible acting she's doing here. She plays her role fine, and in this, she makes scenes uncomfortable, and that's the intention of it. So I guess it kind of works because there's moments where she's like a 70-year-old woman. She's falling for this roommate she has who's like 30. You know, he's like maybe my age or a little younger. And obviously he's not interested at all. And she's like very aggressively trying to come on to him. And there's some stuff at the skate park with some punks, some like hooligans that are messing with her. It is such eye rolly. No one's like that, especially in Sedona, Arizona. Maybe they're trying to make Sedona look like the hood, like some freaking, you know, the streets of Detroit, or like, you know, something like, get the fuck out of here, Sedona. I live in 15 fucking years in Sedona. I never seen no hooligans hanging around the skate park, cornering old women and saying nasty, horrible things. That was so outlandish. All those scenes with those kids, I was like, come on, this is so stupid. That all took me out of it. And the story's all extremely predictable. Everything is just kind of beat for beat, exactly what you would expect. Nothing risky here, nothing all that interesting. None of the dialogue is all that interesting. The main girl that comes over to stay at her place she's fine. I don't dislike the other actors. I think she's she's fine for her role. She's a really cute chick. The guy who moves in with her, he's fine. It's a very cheap feeling, like a cheap quality type film, like where you can just very much tell this is ultra low budget. That's not a knock. It's just when you're not taking any risks, when you're not challenging your audience, when you're not giving any great performances, the cheapness of the low budget really starts to weigh. You know what I mean? Like if you really land something specific, the plot, something intriguing, some really stellar acting, whatever, then I can start looking past where things aren't working. And because really nothing was working, I do notice, because I watch low budget film all the damn time. And so yeah, anyways, I talked about this for way too long. The Sedona stuff was really, anybody who lives in Sedona, I hope if you watch this, you can be like, oh shit, I gotta go check that out. I gotta see all these locations. Anyways, let's move on. Adios.